Ladies and gentlemen, do we have one for the record books today? Live from the Motor City, coming up on Cliff's Notes is Mark Z. Real estate agents, are you struggling with the day-to-day grind, dialing for dollars, putting in hours of floor time with little to show for it? Are you looking for tips, tricks, and tactics to accelerate your career as an agent that will have you closing more homes, working with more clients, and earning more money than ever before? Hi, my name's Cliff Freeman, and I've spent the past 2 decades of my real estate career running one of the top brokerages in DFW and personally coaching over 1,000 high-performing real estate professionals across North America. I created this podcast to share the strategies and tactics you need to explode your real estate business. I guarantee it. Holy cow. I had to pick this one up off the ground, Travis.
Why is that?
I think the Z got him.
Oh, man. I've never heard that inflection in your voice before. That was really strong.
That was said with love and enthusiasm because,
Indeed,
man, I got to tell you, I'm real excited. We're going to bring Mark Z on here just in one moment. Mm-hmm. But, man, I got to do one thing. We got to do a little quick Mavericks check-in, C3, you know. What in the world? They had a good game last night, didn't they?
I think so.
Did they play? Who did they play last night? I don't remember the last game they played. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Okay, well then let's get right on over to Mark Z. Let's bring him on. Mark, how are you, brother? Do we still have his volume?
We should have him.
All right.
One more time, Mark.
Can we?
Hey, Cliff, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. Well, see, it's noisy in the stock exchange. That's where, if you're wondering where Mark is, he's not in his office. He's in the NASDAQ offices in New York City today, right? Is that really you're a real estate team leader, and there you are with a ticker board running behind you and CNBC. Is that's your office there?
That is my office. When you have 35, 40,000 shares of one particular stock called EXP, every dollar up or down is 30, 40 grand. It's a lot of money.
Oh my gosh, man, bless your heart. I'll tell you what, that's that was been recently a darn good issue to hold. Now, we're not in the business of giving stock advice or anything, but if anybody has seen the run up in that one, that's a real good one. It just so happens that we're also part of the company, so we have to be careful about disclaimers and saying that past performance is no indication of future money that you're going to make and that kind of thing. But in the meantime, let's get right into this because Mark has an incredible story. You're the number 1 agent in Michigan, right? I read that correctly, I believe, right?
It could change at any moment, but yeah, we're doing pretty good.
Doing pretty good. Okay, I bet there's a pretty good lead there. I bet as well. I'm sure he's just humble. That's all good leaders are humble and hungry and smart, and that's what I think we got here for sure. Mark, you've built a team up since you joined EXP. You went from 15, I guess, to start, and now you're up to 60. That's an incredible growth just in the last couple of years. I want to talk more about that in a minute. But, for the benefit of our viewers who've never really met the person, we call it the person behind the celebrity, what I'd like to do is let's go back a little bit and talk about, I'd kind of like to know about that, what do we call it, that zero moment of truth when you realized that real estate was your calling. Tell us about that moment, would you?
Oh, geez. It makes me feel old when I tell you how long ago it was, but gosh, we're going on 21 years now. I didn't come from money. I was a young kid, and I remember back when I was 8, 9 years old, I guess you could call me a serial entrepreneur. That business spirit was always inside me. Ever since I was a kid, in fact, I just reached out to a buddy of mine who I was asking if he was interested in an investment. And he said, "Man, you remember when we were like 8 years old and you were selling gumballs on the bus?" And that's honestly when my entrepreneurship, I guess you'd call it, that's when it all started. Ever since I was a kid, my dad owned a restaurant, and it was a mile from my house. So it was easy for him to just pick up the phone and have me come to the restaurant and work anytime he needed me. So, that's where I got my work ethic from, first of all. The guy worked 7 days a week, and believe it or not, over 120 hours, 130 hours a week. So it was like he was in jail, but that's what I grew up with. I mean, I never really seen my dad. Sometimes after school, we'd go there and I'd see him and we'd eat dinner together. But that's how I grew up, was just knowing that that's what it took to make a living. He was grinding day in and day out. He was like the Dunkin' Donuts commercial. It was a little Coney Island. So he'd get up at 4 a.m, make donuts, and then wouldn't get home till 10 o'clock at night. And so watching that grow up, my dad always told me that if I ever got in the restaurant business, he'd kill me because he never wanted that life for me. So growing up, my parents always gave me two choices. School education was always real important to them. They said, Mark, you can be anything you want in life. Pick, doctor or a lawyer. That was my two options. And, when I graduated from high school, I went to college, like a lot of people, and thought that was the ticket to freedom. I realized early on that science just wasn't my thing. And if you don't like science, you can't really be a great doctor. It's going to be tough. Got accepted to a podiatry school, but realized that just wasn't for me. So I said, you know what, I'll pursue law because that was my second choice, right? So I was about to start law school. I got accepted to University of Detroit Mercy Law School. And at the last minute, man, it was hard. I still remember this, breaking my mom and dad's heart, telling them that I wasn't going to law school. I wasn't cut out for it. I didn't have that passion for it. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to make it through 3-4 years of law school if I just didn't have that passion. So I told them, and they were very disappointed. And nothing like disappointing your parents, man. It's an ugly feeling, right? So they're like, okay, well, what are you going to do? So I got a job in corporate America and got my first offer letter. I remember I took my mom with me to go pick up the offer letter, and I opened it up in the car, and there it was, $30,000 a year. And I thought, wow, this is a lot of money, $500-600 a week. I'm living at home. I got a black Corvette. And as long as I had enough money to hit the bars, I thought I was doing good. And I remember looking at my mom's face when I read that, $30,000, and she was crying. I thought it was tears of happiness. She was crying because she was just so disappointed. Imagine her oldest son, supposed to be a doctor or lawyer, and, I'm making $30,000 a year. So I go and I start corporate America, and, that lasts about 2 years. They end up going out of business, whatever. And, I'm out of a job. My parents don't really have money. So starting a business really wasn't an option. So my option was be a realtor or a mortgage broker. Those are the two things you can get into that really don't cost any money. So it was a flip of a coin. I asked the realtors, should I do mortgages or real estate? They all said, don't do real estate. You're going to be living paycheck to paycheck. Go do mortgages. I asked the mortgage brokers. They're like, oh, you don't want this part of the industry. Go do real estate. They're both tossing me back and forth. So flip of a coin, I ended up choosing real estate. And the rest is history. From there, I remember my dad's face when I told him I was going to be a realtor. He was pretty much in tears because right next door to his restaurant was a Century 21 office. And he used to tell me how these realtors would come in and they'd always have a tab. They'd always owe money. And mind you, it was a Coney Island, $5-6 bills. And he'd have this board of all the realtors who were waiting for their next paycheck so they could pay their tab. And then here I come telling them, I'm going to be the next realtor. Oh my God. I mean, talk about disappointed. So, there I was. I'm going to be a realtor. Parents think that I'm just going to be a loser, basically, living paycheck to paycheck because they know all the realtors right next door to them at Century 21 office. And I'm going to be that next statistic, right? At the time, 21 years ago, there was no real estate teams. Everybody's working individual. Maybe you had an assistant, best case scenario, right? So I get in, I start with Coldwell Banker, 2-3 years, I'm grinding. Next thing you know, I'm working like my dad. I'm working 120 hours a week. I'm bartending, waiting tables, trying to make ends meet. I'm grinding, realizing how hard it is, working with buyers. When you first get in the industry, I didn't know how to take listings, didn't know anything. The only listings I took were friends and family, and I did those for free because they thought they were doing me the favor, right? So I'm grinding buyers. And then one day, I run into a guy named Mike Ferry. Mike Ferry comes to town. He does a seminar, and I get into his coaching program, and he teaches me how to go out and get listings. And from then on, the rest is history, Cliff. I learned how to start taking listings. I was on the phones literally 10 hours a day. If I wasn't on an appointment, I was on the phones. No questions asked. That's it. That was my job. On the phones, prospecting expireds and for sale by owners, or on an appointment. I started getting the appointments. I had to hire an administrative assistant because I couldn't handle all the paperwork. Then I had another problem. These buyers kept calling me, disrupting me, wanting to go out and see the listings that I had. I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to focus on listings. So I hired, at the time, there was no teams, right? So I didn't know what I was creating. I just knew that I didn't want to work with buyers. So I hired a girl or a lady named Sandy Radin, who's still with me till today, 20 years later, which is exciting. Yeah. And I tell her, listen, Sandy, I don't want to work the buyers. I'm going to just keep getting listings and you work buyers. And I don't know where this is going to go, but let's just try this. And next thing you know, we had so many leads. She couldn't handle those. So we had to hire another buyer's agent, and the team flourished and grew from there. And we started a team at the time. Coldwell Banker was not team friendly. They were kind of intimidated. I don't know if you probably remember this, Cliff. They're like, what are you trying to do? You're trying to start a brokerage within our brokerage? They didn't like that. They told me that I had to get rid of my big Z on my sign. That was my brand. They said that, our logo has to be bigger than your logo. And they actually gave me an ultimatum. They said, it's either that or you got to leave. I was like, wow, really? Is that serious? And they were absolutely serious. So I ran into someone introduced me to Gary Keller. At the time, Gary Keller was very team friendly and all about, build your brand, and we're good with that. I jumped ship after about 4 years to Keller Williams. I was there the entire time. I was happy. I was great. No plans of leaving. I always knew that if I left Keller Williams, I would just do my own thing. I wasn't going to join another franchise. I didn't want any part of that. And that was the plan. I was there for a long time. And, somebody introduced me to EXP, a gentleman by the name of, Dan Beer and Jay Kinder. And these guys were like, you got to check it out. I looked into it. I realized it was a huge disruptor. From there, the rest.
Well, I'll tell you, it's quite a story. I want to, and we're not done by any stretch, but I want to ask my colleague C3 here, is there anything that you heard in the first part of Mark's story that's consistent with rock star, super high performing real estate agents that comes to mind? What comes to mind?
That he overcame obstacles.
Okay, overcame obstacles, right.
He didn't come from a rich family, didn't grow up with a lot of money.
Yeah, just a modest upbringing, okay.
Right.
Hardworking parents, okay. And then there was something that lit his fire, and you recall what that was?
I don't recall.
Mike Ferry.
That's what it was. Yeah, the listing presentation.
Mike Ferry.
Yep.
And is that the first time that you had a coach, Mark?
Yes.
Okay. So for our audience.
But not the last. I've never gone without a coach my entire career ever since then. I've had many coaches, but I've never walked that path without a coach.
So this is kind of a rhetorical question, but how important, Mark, do you feel it is for people in our audience who may be in their first or second year kind of struggling? Maybe they've done 5 or 10 or even 15 transactions, but they're not able to get any further than that. They just, every time they get to a certain point, they take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. How important is it for somebody like that to get aligned with a good coach?
I mean, Cliff, I can't imagine. I don't care how many transactions you're doing. In this industry, it's constantly changing. There's always someone bigger, always someone better, always someone richer. There's always someone to learn from. And every coach is coaching multiple agents at different levels. So can you imagine like Tiger Woods not having a coach, or, when the Bulls were winning back-to-back championships, or the Detroit Pistons? Can you imagine without a coach? Like, who leads the pack? I mean, I can't even imagine. I don't care what level you're at. If you don't have a coach, I really just think it's all ego. right? You need an ego check. You need to eat some humble pie and realize that there's still so much out there. And don't tell me, this is what they tell me, oh, I don't want to be like you. I don't want to be like Mark Z. You don't have to be like me, but I know you want a life. I know you want freedom. I know you want to be able to see your family, your wife and kids a little bit more. So maybe it's not money. Maybe it's working less. Maybe it's leveraging your time. There's a lot of parts of this industry that if you don't do it right, it's going to suck the blood out of you.
So obviously, look, Mark, you said something that, we got writer downers flying around here like crazy, but one of the things that you said that really hit home was the fact that you learn more from other people and other things. And, like I was in San Diego last weekend with Dan Beer and John Cheplack at their Inside Sales Mastermind. And I've been in this business 33 years. I continue to learn so much from other people. Talk a little bit about how you've gotten more access to more people to learn more through the different brokerages that you've been in. What was it like at Coldwell? Well, how much help did you get from the other agents there?
Listen, I know this isn't an EXP plug, but it's hard just not to, do the comparison. That's the game changer in the model I'm in right now, and probably the most underspoken advantage in this company is there was no help. It was, in fact, it's kind of like asking a chef for the recipe to his number one dish, right? And it's kind of awkward. Like, why would he give that to you? That's his dish. That's what makes him who he is. And then he does give it to you, and he leaves out that one ingredient, right, which changes everything. And so that's how it was at Coldwell Banker, and honestly, even at Keller Williams. It was hard to get the right advice. It was hard to get people to help you without them feeling like they're building their own competition. I'm working in the same general area as them. I'm farming the same neighborhoods as they are. How can they not look at it like competition? And what do they get out of it? A thank you? It's hard to sit there and consistently help someone. Not that people didn't give me help along the way and give me advice, here and there, but to actually have a vested interest in someone versus just being that nice guy or nice girl, completely different.
Well, it sounds to me like you had to stroke. The ferry organization doesn't work for free, right? So you had to stroke some checks to get into that deal, right?
Absolutely. $1,000 a month.
So how accessible is that knowledge and access to people where you are now? Why is it different? Why are people at EXP interested in how you do?
Well, first of all, based on the rev share program, everybody above me, the 7 levels above me, they obviously have a vested interest in me. Everybody in the company, if you sold at least one house, you've got stock in the company. And if you've got stock in the company and we all share that common, big goal, then you realize that your stock just went like 30x, literally 30x in the last year. And so if you don't see that big picture, then, you're missing everything, because all of our net worths have literally went 30, 40 times because we're all helping each other. We're all growing one company. We all get a piece of the pie. And it was a genius model. Anytime you give people a piece of the bigger pie, it's going to blow up.
Yeah. And I was in Orlando the week before speaking in an event there, and I did a little presentation on miracles. I want to ask you, Mark, do you have any miracles that you can tell us about that have taken place with your team members, whether it's, perhaps maybe with stock they've been awarded or rev share, anything that you never dreamed you'd see in the real estate business?
Oh, yeah. I've got team members that have never saved a penny in their life that have $300,000. And the one gentleman I'm thinking of is like 26, 27 years old. And he's got $300,000 worth of stock. And I know he sold some and bought rental properties. In fact, last I talked to him a couple weeks ago, he was buying something in Florida to Airbnb. I've got multiple agents that have $100,000 to $300,000 worth of stock. I've got my manager who makes, can we say how much in rev share?
I'm not sure. You can talk about in terms of apples and oranges, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, 35 to 40 apples a month. That's my manager. Never made so much money in his life. I mean, it's just so many miracles, so many life-changing experiences. And hey, listen, I'm not saying money fixes everything or money solves everything, but hey, if it's one less thing we have to worry about in this life, because there's a lot of things we worry about, right? But if there's just that one sliver of the pie that we don't have to worry about, it's nice.
Well, it's, and I mean, let's face it, I've had agents on my team who have fallen ill, and, if it wasn't for rev share, they would have had no income during that time. And I've got others who, have, gotten icon status like you have and received many shares of the company stock. And again, just a disclaimer, I don't want anybody in the audience buying the stock right now because I want it to go down so I can buy some more. But disclaimer, okay, this is not a stock promotion or anything like that. These are real, these are facts, these are truths that we live and we've seen, experienced it, and it's a wonderful thing. These are two additional pillars of income that we talk about a lot because they've really been such life changers for people. But Mark, let's get back to your real estate business. What's it like selling real estate here? Now, you've grown your team from 15 to 60. That's crazy. That's a huge growth rate. How has your real estate business changed since you've been at EXP? What about your sales?
Yeah, absolutely. Sales are up about 30-40%, but the biggest thing that's changed is I've completely removed myself from the day-to-day business, meaning I haven't worked with a buyer in probably 2 or 3 years. As far as sellers goes, it's very selective, maybe $1 million plus listings or friends, family, a real close referral. But, in Gary Keller's, definition, it operates at 7th level. It truly does. And I've got a great team with a great culture. I've got great staff, from leadership and then below leadership to administrative staff, and then, the realtors that make up the team. I mean, just it truly operates like a business instead of just a job. And it's very unique in this industry. There's not too many people who can say that their team operates without them on a daily basis, and it truly does.
Talk to me a little bit about retention. What's it been like now? Is it harder, easier to retain people now than it was?
The industry always has a high turnover, I think, in general. It's definitely a lot stickier with EXP. So we've lost some people on the team, but guess what? We haven't really lost them because they're still with EXP, which is a win-win, right? They still get to use our office. They still have me as a mentor and someone they can lean on. I still have a vested interest in their business, whether they're on the team or not. Those are all things that never would have happened without EXP. So from that standpoint, I'm always very grateful. That was a game changer. The fact that we could still benefit without being on the team. Prior to EXP, if you weren't on the team, you were pretty much, out of my life. I mean, unless we were just friends. But from a business standpoint, there was just no relationship there, and that's changed now.
Well, you mentioned earlier that it was almost like you were training your competition, and then when people left your team at the other brokerages, you essentially, not only were they not on your team, but they were working against you in a relatively small market, right? You were in the same market center. So now you've essentially been able to remove that ceiling, because in the past, you and I both know that for agents to move up on a team, they had to move out. And now, instead of moving out, they can just move up, right? And you're still there to support them and to love on them and to mentor them, because you actually are in the leadership creation business now, instead of creating task doers and bricklayers and things like that. You're actually helping people understand and coaching them more as a life coach now, really, than anything else, on how to have a better life.
Absolutely. That's where EXP broke the mold. Is creating this common bond, one common company that we can all build and all feel like we can reap the benefits. Whether you're selling 5 houses a year or you're selling 1,000 houses a year. Where else, and this is where, the smaller agents really benefit, right? I mean, no doubt the team leaders and the big teams, we benefit. It's great. But people always ask, it's probably the biggest question is, as an agent who sells 1 to 5, 10 houses a year, what's in it for them? And I don't think there's another company that has more benefits for those agents than this company, because all of the biggest players are opening our playbooks. So these agents sell more homes because more homes means more revenue. B, we want to grow these agents and maybe get them to form a team and leverage themselves, because more agents means more agents in the company, right? If they can attract more agents, that means that they're growing, the company's growing, and it's a win-win. What other company is the top agents going to help these smaller agents? For what reason? It's not going to happen. It doesn't happen. And that's why you have the growth rate that we have here at EXP. Everybody's winning, literally.
Yeah, I was on a call earlier. I think in the first 2 months, I believe hopefully this is public information, but we had like 30 brokerages and over 40 mega agent teams join in January and February. It was really mind-blowing.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. Dave, and I apologize if I wasn't supposed to let that cat out of the bag, but it's better to ask for forgiveness, I guess here.
Yeah.
C3, I know you've been a fan of Mark Z's for a long time.
Yeah, just going to wrap up some questions here for you, if that's all right, real quick. And just first of all, thanks for being on the show. And, I'll just get right into it. What book are you currently reading right now?
You know what? I'm reading for the second time Good to Great.
Jim Collins.
What was it?
Jim Collins.
Good to Great.
Yeah.
Good to Great. Yeah, this is the second time I've read this, and it's amazing. It's been probably 3 years since I read it last, but it's a great book, and there's so many little nuggets in there. And then I have next up is The Energy Bus. Someone told me I got to read that, so that's next on deck.
Very cool. Well, forgot where I was going next with this, but I was going to ask you, that's what it was. Do you have a favorite hobby? Anything you like to do outside of real estate, like golf or, something like that?
Bartend?
Yeah. Honestly, I don't have the time for a hobby, to be perfectly honest with you. I got 3 kids, 13 years old, 11 years old, and 9 years old, so all 2 years apart. And between their sports and, activities, when I get done with work, it's wife and kids, and, the weekends we spend together, the evenings, we're either going to one of their sports. So, the last 15 years, I can honestly say I've pretty much given up all hobbies and just a family guy, to be honest.
Very cool.
So, you've got 3 kids. Tell me what your vision is. You see, I've got, I'm partnered here with my son. Is that in your future? I mean, tell us, where do you see Sold by Z in 5 years, say five or the next 5 or 10 years?
I'd love for the kids to step in. I've got a few different business ventures. We've got the real estate team, but I've got a lot of different buckets of income, Cliff, only because, let me tell you something. Ever since real estate took off for me, I've always felt like it was too good to be true. I don't know if it's an insecurity or a chip on my shoulder. I just feel like I've always felt like this is like a dream come true. I can't believe that I make the money I make and I have the freedom that I have. And so I've always had multiple buckets of income. So we've got the real estate team. I've also got a property management company. We manage about 1,000 different properties for others. And then I've got my own portfolio of about almost 400 doors, comprised of multifamily, apartment buildings. a lot in the Metro Detroit area. And then, we just closed on a $27 million one in Houston, Texas. And so we're doing a lot of, bigger deals, and I'm bringing, some of my team members in, and, different people in EXP, investors. A lot of these projects are too big for myself. So we're partnering with others. They get an 8 to 11% return every year. Plus, when we sell, there's an exit strategy of 5 to 7 years. We sell, they get their money back plus 50% more. So you're talking about an average of a 20% annual return. Then I've got a home improvement company called Mario Brothers Home Improvements. That kind of goes hand in hand with the real estate side of the business, because when clients are buying a home or when they're selling a home, they need home improvements. So we have that aspect. It also feeds off of the property management company. You can imagine when tenants, leave, and we have to go in and, rehab, fix up the house or the apartments. And then, we've got a title venture. And so between all of those, it keeps me pretty busy, right? You got to have your hand on the pulse. I've got managers that manage almost every aspect of each business, but you still got to look at your KPIs, your key performance indicators, and make sure that everything's within certain percentages. Because if it's not, then that's a red flag that there could be trouble on the horizon. So between all that and between,
I didn't mean to interrupt. I apologize, but you said KPIs, and I just wanted to let you know that C3 and I were having lunch, and one of the things he said is, maybe we should ask Mark about what his KPIs are that he measures. But when you've got that many companies, you probably got a large number of KPIs for each company, right?
Absolutely. It comes down to profit margins. In the multifamily world, everything is within percents, what your repair budget should be every month, and, what your vacancy factor should be. And that's how you know that, something's not right. If you're expecting a vacancy factor of 3 to 4% and you're at 9%, well, you know that something's not right. So yeah, I'm always looking at key performance indicators. On the real estate side, you've got to operate within a certain profit margin. Profit margins are continuously diminishing as you grow a real estate team. It's nowhere near what it is, when you're running solo. But I'm good with taking a smaller piece of a bigger pie, and that's how the real estate team operates.
That's a great point that you make, because I think a lot of people that get into this business aspire to have large teams. What they don't realize is you're going to work as hard to make $250,000 running a team as you are as an individual agent, right? I mean, you've got more overhead and more people. And people tend to be where a lot of, the issues come up and so forth, and they're just more difficult to manage. But
it's actually harder.
Yeah,
I think it's harder, Cliff.
Yeah.
I mean, this. How easy is it to manage yourself? I mean, you wake up in the morning, no one needs to motivate you, right? Like, you're not looking for someone to give you a call and get you motivated every morning, right? Right. And so we take it for granted the things that, just come natural to us. I don't need motivation every day, but a lot of my agents do need motivation every day, and they need accountability, and they need leadership. And we got to make sure that the leads are accounted for, and customer service is to the same level that my customer service is. All the things that we take for granted that me and isn't so common to a lot of people. So managing other people is a lot harder than just managing yourself.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned motivation. Zig Ziglar said that motivation and bathing are quite similar in the idea that he recommends one of each at least once a day. So motivation and at least a bath once a day, right? So, Mark, that is incredible. And I hate to say this, but I knew that this was going to go fast, as it always does. And we're really closely approaching the end of our time together here. Is there anything that we should have asked you today that we didn't ask you that you'd like to maybe share with us?
You didn't ask me about my sharks that I have in the office.
Oh no!
Big aquarium.
Did you know that I have sharks in my office?
I did not. No. Is that? I don't suppose you can whip the old webcam around and show us.
No. I'm actually not at the office right now. I'm actually at home. This is my home office. But yeah, we got a Shark Tank at the office, which is quite the attraction, for local people and actually Asian attraction too.
How many gallons is it?
It's over 5,000 gallons. It's a cylinder tank because sharks, all they do all day long is just go round and round. But 5,000 gallons, and we got black tip sharks in there.
Wow.
I thought I saw something on social media about that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is
Isn't it
awesome.
on your Instagram? Isn't that right?
Yeah, it's on my Instagram.
What's
So
your Instagram
if you ever come to Detroit, you got to come to Detroit one day, Cliff, and I'll let you pet the sharks.
Through a steel cage, maybe, right? Yeah.
That's where we threaten to toss the Asians if they're not prospecting. They're swimming with the sharks.
So if somebody wanted to see your sharks, could they just go to your Instagram?
How would somebody get a hold of you, Mark? Yeah. What's your handle? And if somebody had questions about your business, or you're very generous and open to talking to people, how would somebody best get a hold of you?
It's probably easiest by follow me on the Instagram at Sold by Mark Z. That's at Sold by Mark Z. We're posting daily real estate tips. Check it out. Every day we're posting a different video on mistakes that I've made or things that are working in the industry. This industry is changing so fast. If you don't have your hand on the pulse, I'm looking 2 years out. If you're just paying attention to what's happening today, man, you're going to get slapped in the face. You're not going to realize what hit you. You got to be looking 2 to 3 years out. And that's, for example, when EXP came out with the cash offer program, the instant offer program, I was like, wow, because that was something that I felt like we got to be able to compete with Zillow. And it was something that I was going to have to do myself. And then it was like the EXP gods heard what I was saying, and they came out with the instant offer program. So now we get to compete against all the big boys. We get to offer instant offers to our clients. And it's things like that, man. If you're not on top of cutting edge, you're going to get eliminated in this industry because a lot of people want to eliminate us. Let's face it.
Yeah, and to your point, it's not EXP Express Offer, it's EXP Express Offers, plural. Because if you meet the buy box, there are going to be multiple investors in your market, and whoever's buy box you're checking, you can get an offer from. So, it could be as many, I think, up to 8 in some markets. And you pick your offer. So that's it's quite a program. Well, Mark, man, this has been a as we say in Texas, this has been a hoot and a holler, and it's great to finally hook up with you on the show. I think the last time we were together, we were breaking bread in Las Vegas, or maybe was it Vegas? I think it might have been. And of course, we've been to New Orleans together, I think, and Fort Lauderdale. But looking forward to getting together with you again personally real soon. And if it's up in Detroit, so I can feed the sharks or whatever I need to do, I'm happy to do that. But thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Cliff. This was great. We'll have to do part 2 one day.
Hey, part 2, right? As Chip and Joanna say.
Check up.
Right? Maybe a checkup from the next month. Checkup from the neck up in the next quarter. How about that? Sound good?
It's a tongue twister. Absolutely.
All right, brother. Take care, man. It's good to see you. All of our friends out in the audience. Wow, man, I'm just blown away.
Yeah.
Did you have any idea Mark had all those other things going on as well?
That just kind of inspires me to want to do something like that myself.
Yeah, Charles, that makes me want to get out and go exercise or something this afternoon. I don't know what it does.
I'm interested in these sharks, man. I can't wait to get video of you petting the sharks. I cannot wait for that video to come out.
Golly, why did we have to do now that song? What's that stupid song that Shark Baby Shark?
Oh gosh,
I'm gonna have that on my mind. No, please.
No.
Oh my gosh, that's as bad as the Kroger commercial that won't stop.
Remember?
I do. I remember. Yeah. Okay. Well, folks, thanks for being with us again this week. Don't forget, we'll be back with you next week for another edition of Cliff's Notes. Thank you. All right, folks, tune in to Cliff's Notes every Thursday at 1 o'clock Central for the tips, tricks, and tactics to explode your business. I guarantee it!